Hello everyone, this is Keith Ritual, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do a subtle man makeup. So I see a lot of people and they're always like, I want to have a full face of makeup on, hide all these blemishes, hide this redness, these spots. But they're like, I'm a guy and I can't do that because people will know I'm wearing makeup. Well, you can wear makeup without looking like you're wearing makeup. Women have known this forever, but these days most women wear makeup so thick, and so it's more about artistic and about like personal expression than it is just about hiding flaws. And I do the same thing. I pretty much wear makeup for artistic expression and rarely wear it just to hide blemishes and stuff like that. But I'm going to show you how to do like a full face, not the lips. So with the lips, I just sort of put a lip balm on, just to it's sort of a lip scrub lip balm, so it helps remove the dead skin. And I'm going to show you how to apply a full face of makeup but look like you're wearing nothing. This is especially good for someone that has a beard. I'll show you how to do that too. I'm going to show you just how to apply makeup on a guy's face and more of a natural, like, no one can tell I'm wearing makeup unless I went swimming kind of look, and then it starts falling away. But so we're going to start, like originally I would have you all start with skincare of some sorts. I have some over here, but I've already done my skincare. I've get to wash your face, do your skincare, and just get ready to start some makeup. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the eyes and brows. So my brows are special, so you don't necessarily have to do this, but I'm going to draw in my brows. I almost forgot. I was gonna separate that stuff, but I didn't. I'm just gonna use this stuff. So I'm taking this brow gel just because I have special brows. This is not necessary because I'm just take a little bit and just sort of trace out where my brows should be. So I'm going to, I know my natural brow shape is this. Because we're going for a man look, I'm just going to draw those in. Now this will always take some practice. You're not going to be able to pull off this look first try. What I recommend is if you want to do a certain thing, like your brows. Like I've seen guys that have like patchy outer brows and they're not very comfortable with them. So what you do is you just sort of slightly tap it in. You want to do very gentle strokes, just so that it sort of looks like your real hair and that you can't tell it's there. Usually I would not recommend a pomade. I would recommend more of a pencil or a powder. A powder looks a lot more natural. And I'm going to just do like tiny strokes so it replicates hair. So you see how that just sort of looks like natural hair. I don't have it perfectly clean and crisp. Just sort of working it in. Don't over-define your brows, because if you over-define your brows, it'll be very obvious. And I'm actually just throw a little powder on top, just to sort of create more of that blurred brow effect. I'm using the color I'm using in Dip Brow is Ebony, but find what's best for you. Do not use just what I use. And there you have one brow. Now let's say you overdid it and you have a little bit of stray strokes going on. You want to take sort of like a small brush and you want to use a micellar water. I'm using the Dual Fusion water. So micellar water is like a makeup remover that doesn't use oil. And you just want to use a little bit just to sort of remove it. Like normally a woman would use a concealer to clean it up by sort of hiding it. But if you want to like create that no makeup look, like almost impossible to tell, you want to use a micellar water because you can wipe it away without making it very obvious that you just wiped it away. And also when you do your brows, make sure you focus more on the outside than on the inside. You always want this to be more sparing on the inside. And make sure you comb all up and over so they look natural. So now we are going to go in to the eyes. So the eyes you want to keep very, very simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a little bit of an eyeshadow primer. I'm using the Dior Backstage Eye Prime. So what this does is we're just going to use this if we want to sort of even out our lid. If we have like a lot of discoloration and we don't like it, you want to sort of prime the lid. Okay, and you see how that has already neutralized the color? This is because of the primer. But this is too white for everyday boy look. So what I recommend is finding a color of eyeshadow that closely matches your skin. And I'm going to use the color Blur by Melt Cosmetics. And I'm going to take just an eyeshadow brush, a big fluffy one is fine. I just sort of want to just pat this over the primer. You see how it's sort of changing the color slowly into my natural eyeshadow. And by the way, if you hear a lot of air, that's because I have fans on because it is so damn hot in this house today. Yesterday I literally was like melting as I was applying makeup. So you see how it just sort of evened out. It just sort of straightened it out. Now, if you feel like it's too flat, which I feel like it's too flat, it looks very... If you want to create a little bit more depth in there, I'm taking the Urban Decay palette, and you just want to use something that's more of a warm brown, a very subtle brown. And you take a little bit of that and just sort of put it on the outside and in the crease of your eye. Now it all depends on your eye shape, depending on if you really need this. And just do a little bit there, and that's all you do, like a tap, not much. So you see how like my eyes changed like shapes drastically. And now to continue with the eye, I'm going to take a little bit of black liner. This is going to really enhance the eye. This is also very optional. This is if you feel like your eyes are small and you want to make them pop out. So what you're going to do is you're going to take an angled brush, a pencil liner. You're going to put a very small amount, like almost not microscopic. And you're going to sort of push it up into the lashes, underneath the lashes. Now this might take some practice if you're not used to wearing makeup. You're just going to sort of push it in, like right in the lash line. This is to create a subtle, like, makes it like your lashes are bigger, and it's going to darken it. You're going to do the same for the outside, very little. But you're not going to go in the waterline. You're going to go right where the lashes start, and just sort of push it in and blend it out. Like very subtle. And you see how the eye is suddenly opened. Like you saw how it's like more flat, and now this just sort of opened the eye. And to finish off the eye, if you feel like you have small lashes and you want them to be a little bit more apparent, I'd always recommend a mascara. But with mascara, because it is very obvious very quickly, you want to do like one coat. So what I recommend is just sort of wiggle it through once or twice, just to give you that extra definition. And if you feel like you got a little too much in, you're always more than welcome to take a spoolie brush and just sort of wiggle it through a few more times, just to sort of separate your lashes so it becomes less apparent that you're wearing mascara. You see the difference in the eyes? I feel like this one might be a little dark. Oh well. So we finished the eyes, and you see how my eyes look very even, very like defined, but you can't really see the makeup. I'm actually going to define this one a little bit more. You can't really see the makeup. It's like not apparent. Even if I look up close, it becomes very unapparent that I'm wearing any makeup. And this is from a freaking makeup artist's eyes, so you know it looks very like hard to tell. So now we're going to go in with the face. So you see how very simple. The face could be a little more complicated. So first we're going to do is we're going to do a primer. This one, you don't want to get a primer that has no real shine to it. Now first of all, before you even do the face, you want to make sure your skincare routine is up to par. You want to prevent any texture or dryness in the skin. If you feel like dryness, try to use like a more of a moisturizing mask. Texture, exfoliate, but anything that sort of helps keep the skin smooth as possible. A little discoloration is easier to hide than texture, and dryness sort of makes it so the makeup pulls apart and becomes more noticeable. So I'm going to use this primer. This is the Guerlain Meteorites. Now, anything in my video, some of it is more expensive than others. This is a $74 primer. I'm not saying go ahead and buy a $74 primer to do this look. Do whatever primer works for you and fits your budget. So I'm going to take a little bit, like one squirt. This one you can't really mess up unless you don't blend it into your face correctly. Is you just sort of rub it where you're going to apply makeup. So I'm bringing it to the forehead. And you could also brush it into, if you have facial hair, into the facial hair. Now if you have facial hair, You want to match the color closer to like this area, just because you know you won't be able to notice the color. But if you don't have facial hair, you want to match it to your neck. You want to make sure the foundation matches your neck color on the T, and you want it to be a sheer to medium coverage. You don't want much coverage in your foundation. So I'm using Givenchy Photo Perfection in the shade 105 Perfect Ginger, which is the perfect shade for me if I'm just wearing this foundation. I'm going to take a little on my hair. Now I'm going to recommend a beauty blender with most foundations, just because you can really shear it out and get it built up where you need to without making it look very visible. Now with this, each foundation is different, and some foundations you can't use a beauty blender without it looking like it's falling apart on your skin. With this one, I can. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to find what I want to hide the most first, and just sort of tap it in that area, and just constantly tap it until I can't see the foundation anymore. And just sort of work my way around the face. This is if you have redness, blemishes you want to hide, but this is more for like just evening out the skin tone in general. And I match this actually to my cheek area, which is actually quite single tone, but everyone is different. Now if you want more coverage, you would have to be a little bit more visible to your eye that you are wearing foundation, because full coverage is just, it does hide, but it also makes it a little bit more visible. Bring that all the way as close to the eye as I can. Now, you also can take a little bit into the facial hair if you want to, but be very gentle because you don't want to overbuild on the hair. You just want to use the lightest amount just so that the color blends more evenly. And you want to make sure that it's not a color here and a different color here. And make sure you get the redness, especially around the nose. And right up against the eye. You see how I'm just tapping, I'm not pulling. Now there are plenty of primers that you put underneath this that are better for blurring the skin. So if you want to use one of those, there are some where you could just wear the primer or a blurring translucent thing and just rub it on your face and it works just as well. But for someone like me who needs a little bit extra coverage in some areas, like this spot on my nose, this is more of the way to go. Now, if you have a few extra spots like I do that you can't hide with the foundation, you want to go with a concealer, and you want to use one that has no illumination in it. You want to find an exact color for the area you want to conceal. So usually, that's why you usually do it after foundation, so you can spot check. And I have a little discoloration under my eye. But I'm going to use this side, this little one that has no illumination, right on the tip of my nose to hide that spot, and also this spot on my forehead. And I'm going to blend this in with the Beauty Blender as well. And I'm going to really blend it. And if I need a little bit more, I put a little bit more on top. Now, if you want to hide under eye dark circles, the best bet is to use a color corrector, which I have one here. This is the YSL. It's a peach corrector. Peach is good for my complexion. Different complexions require different colors. So a corrector is probably the best to go if you want the most minimal, thinnest makeup, because what it does, it sort of cancels out the darkness instead of hiding it. And very little goes a long way. So don't build it up and just focus it where you need it the most. Now usually I apply the corrector underneath my foundation, but it all depends on the fact that I forgot. Now if you're like me and you have creases under your eye, you want to go with a Beauty Blender and make sure you really blend out that corrector so that the creases don't become more visible as the day goes by. Now, if you want to hide a little bit more because the corrector wasn't enough, you're going to use a very thin concealer, because you want to use a very sheer to medium concealer as well, because a thick concealer makes it so much more visible on the skin. And when you do this, you want to sort of dot a triangle around the area. This way, you're not doing too much concealer, and then you want little spots inside. But you're like not doing too little. So with this, you're going to also blend out with a beauty blender. So this is actually the Wander in Fair, because this closely matches what I like in my concealer. And I'm going to blend. Now if it's a little bit lighter than your skin in this area, that is totally fine, because it's just going to be a little highlight, but you don't want to go too far because you are trying to do that no makeup look, and if it becomes too obvious that you're bright, it just looks like you're wearing makeup. And I'm actually doing it in parallel with my, perpendicular to my nasolabial fold, so it's like But this all depends on your face shape, but usually for some reason, I found that going like straight here works very well on most face shapes. And still, you're going around the eye, so you really want to blend it. Now that I've applied that, I want to apply a little setting powder because you don't want it to crease, and setting powder helps keep the makeup in place. So I'm going to take a little bit of this Laura Mercier setting powder, and I'm going to take it on sort of a powder puff. And I'm going to just put a little bit on and then shake off the rest. And I'm going to just sort of tap it. Wherever I need it. If you're oily, go for the T-zone as well. And then you're going to use a fluffy brush and dust away the excess. Another good powder, actually, to do this with is the Dim Light by Hourglass, which is actually in this palette, or you can buy it alone. This is Dim Light, and it's a setting powder that sort of makes the skin look more even, using fractals of light. So now we brighten the face. You can see I don't have much color going on in my cheeks. So if you feel like you don't have enough color, I would recommend going in to, if you want to like sort of bronze up a little bit, go in with like a very subtle bronzer. I'm going to use the same brush because why not? And this is actually Laguna by NARS. And I'm going to just take this into right between the facial hair and the cheek. And it becomes sort of like a nice blend to blend the facial hair down into the cheek. And you want to do very little on your brush and slowly build it to where you feel comfortable. Less is more when you're going with one of these kind of looks. And then you want to take a little bit into the temple as well, just to sort of give your face a little bit of shape and a little bit of bronze. Now I still also look like I have no blood in my cheeks. I look sort of dead because I have no color. So we're going to go in with like a blush. Now you want to get sort of a rosy color, anything that sort of says blood under skin. And I'm going to take the same technique, very minimal on the brush, and I'm just going to focus it mostly right on the cheekbone. Now this is totally optional. If you feel like you don't need it, don't do it. You see how it just added a little touch of color? And now to finish it off, if you feel like you want a little dewiness in the skin, which most guys don't really care about that, but I'm the kind of guy that does. So I'm going to take a highlighter, and not this one because this one is too damn extreme. This is what I use for like back row seating. I'm taking this color. This is Opal by Becca. I broke it once. Taking the same brush, tap it, tap off the excess, and bring it right on top of the bone. And you want to just do almost non-existent. You also want to put a little bit on the tip of the nose and a little in the forehead. Avoid the lips. Most girls do put it on their lips as well, but you're not going to because that's very apparent. Now, if you feel like you need to blend anything extra out, you could always use your fingertips to just sort of lightly push anything away or subtly blend it out. Now, these are all just like the subtle look. This is the I'm not wearing makeup. If you got really close, you could not clock it unless you really looked. And you see a spot here, but that just because that's the spot I have. That doesn't go away that easily. But yeah, let me get a little closer. I don't know if it'll focus right. But you see how it's like almost not apparent that I'm wearing makeup? I don't think it focused. But if you want to just set it all, you're a little feeling like you look a little dry, which can happen, especially if you're on a more drier skin type, get a setting spray to set your makeup instead of the powder. So you just spray that all over. Now, let's say you're not comfortable with the fact that your facial hair looks a little patchy. I have something for that too. So you want to take a sort of a rounded dome brush, and the exact same product I use in my brows, the dip brow, and you just tap, lightly tap it. Mine's a little dry, so I might tap a little harder. And you want to just sort of focus it where you feel like you have too little facial hair. Like you see how you could visibly see this darkness, but it's like stops. So what you do is you just sort of lightly brush it in. And you want to like really focus on it, make sure you don't overdo it. Now, I honestly don't feel like my facial hair is too patchy, but I'm just going to fill it in just a little bit for you guys. And every time I need to go back, I just lightly tap it back into the pot. Oop. If you get a little too much going on, I've done it before, you just take the spoolie and sort of comb it through. So if you get a little oily and you have to blot up some oil, I actually recommend this. This is the Murad blotting perfector. So what this is, it's just sort of like a liquid here. You pot and you just blot it where you're oily, and this helps sort of dry any excess oils. Also, blotting papers work just as well, but this is not going to disturb your makeup. And this is really good to touch up if you are wearing makeup and you feel like you're soaking. This is not the best for summer for men, just because it becomes a lot more apparent the more you sweat. But you see how you can barely tell that I'm wearing anything. I don't know how well you can see my face in this camera. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me what you thought. My brows are not perfect, but your brows are all different. I'm going to comb that a little bit. They're not perfect. Nobody will know about your brows. But yeah, that is all. I will see you all next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And have a good day. Bye.